60 Minutes Rewind.
Not since the Civil War had the country been so divided as it was over the Vietnam War. But in 1982, when the Vietnam War Memorial was unveiled in Washington, things began to change. Now it's even acceptable for Hollywood and television to deal with it. And what's more, on some 400 college campuses across the country, students are now taking courses on that war. When the University of California at Santa Barbara first offered its course back in 1979, only 40 students enrolled. Today, it is the most popular course on campus.
It took 17 and a half years for me to talk about Vietnam. 2 marriages, suicide attempts, drug overdoses, abuse of alcohol, the list goes on.
Twice a week, these young men and women are given a crash course on the horrors of Vietnam and the traumatic return home for the men and women who served there. Veterans who live in the area sit on the stage, and many of them get up to tell of their experiences.
While I was over there, killing from the air, it was easy. It was commonplace. When I was on the ground, I had to kill a 10 or 12-year-old kid. That wasn't.
Before I took this class, I didn't know anything about Vietnam. I didn't know the history. I didn't know why. This course has helped me to understand a lot of that. I had a special interest. My father went to Vietnam, and he didn't come back.
He was killed there.
Mm-hmm.
Part of what makes this course special is that for the last 3 years, the class has made a pilgrimage to the Vietnam Memorial in Washington, to the wall. It was there that Kelly found her father's name. The students go so they can experience it firsthand, so they can learn.
There's a lot of children out there who are just now coming of age, who lost their fathers and who don't understand why, because it's not taught to us in high school. So when you walk up to the Vietnam Memorial and you see your father's name up there and you don't know why.
Kelly lost her father, but it could have been my father. And I want to make sure that my children don't have to say they don't understand why their father's on that wall.
I just keep thinking that they didn't make it.
Being at the wall is an emotional experience the students had perhaps underestimated. I was in Vietnam as a reporter, and I had been to the wall before, but I'd always had to stand away up on the hill. This was the first time I'd been able to walk up to the wall. And I've heard the same story from many others. The experience of walking up there can be just too painful.
There's 58,372 people killed. 223 million Americans don't know why. There's over 100,000 suicides for Vietnam vets. Plus one. 3 days ago, one of my friends, that's for you, Terry, wherever you are, you're listening. Finally, I thank God for my brothers and sisters. I thank God for the Vietnam veterans of America, and I thank you for listening and caring.
The course seems to have a dramatic effect on everyone involved. Veterans who have never told their stories before are saying things they never thought they could, to kids who are eager to listen to them.
I didn't lose a father or somebody I loved, but I'm realizing that I need to heal, and that the whole American conscience needs to heal, and that's this whole theme of this class.
We're the generation who are going to be writing the history books. And we need to learn really what really went on over there so that we can write a real first-hand account or second-hand account of what happened in Vietnam. And no rights and wrongs. Rights and wrongs aren't important anymore.
The man responsible for all of this is Professor Walter Capps. He's become a sort of campus hero. This year, his course has 1,000 students, and they had to turn away 600 more.
It's well, kind of life communication. I mean, it's heart to heart. It's speaking about the meaning of life many, many times on the basis of what one learned about life after facing death directly. We're not just kind of being academic about things. We're really studying something that is a life and death matter for everyone.
You wanna hear about a bad day? I flew as a door gunner on a CH-46. We come flying around the valley, panic phone calls on the radio. Get us out of here, get us out of here, get us out of here. 15 men in the platoon, only 3 are walking. We open up our doors. Those who are able to walk start bringing the remains of some of my brothers in poncho bags, just bags full of mush. I spent the rest of my flight from that valley all the way to Quezon trying to keep 2 of my brothers alive who were spitting up blood in my mouth. You think it's easy to live with that? 19, 20 years old? And it's your responsibility to be sure, that this kind of thing doesn't happen again. War isn't fun. I'm no John Wayne. I'm no Audie Murphy. I'm a Craig Taylor. I'm a human being that was your guy's age when I went over there. And little did I know what I was getting myself into when I got there. I'll never be the same for the 2 years that I experienced in Vietnam. I never will be the same. Thank you for listening to what I had to say.
It's hard to sit in this class and not be affected by what's going on. It's hard to listen to a vet tell their story, tell his story, and to not feel something, not to feel the emotion that comes across. And it's something you don't get in other classes.
The veterans telling their stories is a big part of it, but you can have that encounter almost anywhere. You can have some guys get up and tell what happened to them in Vietnam. It's a little different here, though, because there's an exchange. A lot of the veterans, they come back, they are getting something from us as much as they're giving something to us by telling us what happened. We're working together in a way to try to understand what happened.
I'd just like to ask Dennis why you said that you thought Vietnam was a conflict and not a war, and if the other veterans would agree with that.
It was a conflict instead of a war because it was strict, pure, flat, and simple. It was undeclared. We lost 58,000 guys for no damn reason at all.
Is it easy to get up there and talk in front of the kids?
Oh, it's terrifying.
It's the most frightening thing. You're talking about a subject where the emotions are real close to the surface, and there's a potential that you're going to break down and get crazy in front of 900 strangers. But somehow there's a feeling that this is important. These people have to know what went on. I mean, they have to know it not only because it might happen again, but they have to know it for the sake of 58,000 people who didn't come back and who aren't going to be able to tell them the story. Somebody's got to tell them the story.
This class is showing me that, I can't even judge right and wrong about the Vietnam War. It's showing me the human toll, the individual toll, and that this person on the street may have gone doesn't mean he's a baby killer. It doesn't mean he was at My Lai. It doesn't mean anything like that. If he was there, it's okay.
We, as veterans who come to this class, owe you people collectively a lot because you're part of our process of coming home.
You hear that a lot. Coming home, welcome home. Those phrases pepper the language of the vets and the students. For the veterans, those words mean acceptance.
I believe that there's at least one Vietnam vet in the room today who has not yet been welcomed home. I think this is the time to say, welcome home.
For many of the vets, it is here, after having been back home 15 or even 20 years, that they get their first real thank you, a sense that they are appreciated for what they went through. Because I was in Vietnam as a reporter, Professor Capps asked me to speak to the class to share my experiences with them.
When you got back, did you experience like the negative things that happened, either emotionally or socially, from people that knew that you had been there?
No, because yes and no. For me, it was the first time I talked about some of those things. It's difficult. I mean, you can't watch people being killed and not suffer some kind of emotion, some kind of feeling. You can't see that kind of destruction and devastation and not be affected by it. So I don't experience the same thing that these guys experience because we were there in different capacities. But I understand some of what they went through because some of it I went through.
Yeah, welcome home.
Thanks, man. You can understand how the veterans are able to open up before these young people. There is a strong feeling of trust that comes through, a sense that they won't be made to seem foolish no matter what they say or do. One veteran who doesn't share his personal experiences with the class is Nebraska's former governor, Bob Kerrey. He's co-teaching the course this semester. Both he and Professor Capps are careful to see that the course does not become a platform to speak only radical anti-war sentiments, but that it also includes the sense of duty that many felt and still feel about that experience.
I just think that only the Nazis were capable of the atrocities. That's what I learned about when I was a child, and they were an exception to the rule. And the most painful thing about this class for me is learning that it doesn't matter if you're German or if you're Vietnamese or if you're American. When you're in a war, anyone is possible of anything. And that, learning that about the human animal has been painful because it seems like it's inherent, and I just don't know how any of us could get rid of it. I guess the only hope is to keep people secure so they don't get scared and that animal comes out of people.
We've said that this is combination field trip and pilgrimage. We come here to learn about the memorial because we're studying about the war. We also come here because it's the appropriate thing to do. So all those names on the wall refer to individuals, many of whom were the same age as most of you as you're standing here now, and they've got families and mothers and fathers and brothers and sisters, and it's real. It's real.
I think it's our task to both honor the dead, cherish life, and to see if we can go through our lives and not have to build one of these.
The story will continue after this.
This is a place to be hopeful. If you're sad, it's a place to leave your sadness behind.
John Wheeler is a Vietnam veteran. He's chairman of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Fund, the group that built the monument. He's been out to the campus in Santa Barbara to talk to the kids, but it is here that his words become more poignant. He told about a letter he found propped up against the wall.
The letter says, "Hi, lover. I wanted to come back and say hello. You know, I went ahead and married Dick, and we have a beautiful little girl. And her favorite color is purple, the color of this stationery. I went to Arlington to see your grave, and on it it said that you got a Purple Heart for dying. Well, this is your Purple Heart for living. I hope that our daughter finds as wonderful and as beautiful a first love as you were for me. Goodbye. Hello, Nancy." And that letter showed me that the pain of the war was born not just by the guys that had to go fight and come back, but it was born by the women who knew us and had their first dates with us, fell in love with us, and who too often were the only people that accepted us when we came back as real people.
For the women who mourn them and who suffered with them, for the men who fought there and died there, for Americans who suffered individually and collectively, perhaps the country is at last coming home. 15 years, 20 years late, but hopefully it's not too late.
I guess my feeling is that as tragic as that war is, it can lead to a richer, more mature America. I think this is an effort at reconstruction. I mean, in a way that we can become more resilient people, more knowledgeable people about the consequences of our action. And if we're contributing to that, that's enough for me.